Folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we are going to work on a bracelet using our SoftFlex's TGBE, the Great Bead Extravaganza design kit, Dia de los Muertes. Now this is going to be a 3-strand bracelet, and I may be making the hardware for it, and 2 of the strands are going to be a nice heavy chain, but the middle strand is going to use the beads from the kit, namely sugar skulls are the biggest things. So let's turn down and we'll get stringing that middle strand up. So these are the beads we're going to use, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these sugar skulls like so, and then the 2 odd guys like this, and then we're going to put the other sugar skulls in place. But we're going to have one of these green bicones between here, and black one here. Excuse me. And these are going to go right up to this guy. And then we're going to have a black one on the other side of these, and a green one. And I have been debating if I want to put another green one here in between or no. And I might. And each one is going to have a washer spacer or these ones are going to go underneath the chins of these guys because see, they're concave. So we're going to put the little ball spacer there so they will won't stick, flop on their side so much, or the beads below won't hide. So let's get a length of wire out. And I will put a bead stopper on this one side. And then we're just going to start stringing, and we're going to just start with this little bicone. Then a washer spacer, black, washer spacer, sugar skull, bicone. But now here is where we're going to make a little deviation. We're going to do, oops, I forgot our washer spacer here. We're going to put our washer spacer back on, and then the bicone, and then another washer spacer. Oop, come here you. But instead of going straight to the sugar skull, this is where we're going to put on our ball spacer, because like I said, these guys have a dip downwards in their chin, so we want to have something in place so that they will sit properly. Now, when I designed this, I did not have these in place, and I think we'll take them back out because they may make it be too long. So through you go. And there is our bead strand. Let's put another, slide you down, and now I'm not going to make my bead strand any longer than this, so I am going to cut this off. And I do want to see, to my own wrist at least, how long this is. And I do have some space, which is fine, because I am going to make a component so that we can hook this all to it along with the chain, because I don't have a component that would work. It needs to have some kind of a loop with 3 loops on one side and 1 loop on the opposite side for it to hang on to, and the chains are going to come down the either side like so. And then we'll have, of course, the other one, another one on the other side. Now I'm not going to cut this chain until we get our component made and I can figure how much we need exactly. But that's what it's going to look like when it's finished, is the chain on both sides like that. So let's put our chain back up here so it's not in our way. And we're going to go ahead and crimp these guys. And just leave a loop, because we'll just, of course, jump ring it onto the component when I have the component made. So we're going to get some black some of our black crimp tubes. Or you could use silver as well, but I've got black, so we'll use black. And I'm going to crimp either side, with leaving a loop on either side for my jump ring. So, come on, baby, go on up there. Now, this should go through this bead. If it doesn't, then, well, I'll have to trim it at the crimp tube, and it looks like it might not, which is too bad, because I don't really care for crimping it at the crimp tube. It's not like it's impossible to do or anything that's really horrible, but it makes it a little bit harder when you're trying to get it nice and clean on that end, because sometimes if you don't get it trimmed good enough right at the crimp, there's a little bit of a rough spot. So there's crimp number 1, and we'll try one more time, but I don't think it's going to go through this green bead. Looks like no. So what you need to do is take your cutters. Where did I put my cutters? There they are. Slide it right up to the crimp bead with your flush cutter. Slide straight up to it so it's right snugging against it, and then clip the wire off. And slide your beads down to the other side. We have one side finished. And now we're going to crimp this second side. Now we already know that our bead is wire is not going to go through our green bead, or it's not very likely to. It's not going to. So we'll slide, come on, crimp, up over the wire. Come on, crimp, go over the wire. And then we'll pull her down. All the way down to your beads. Make sure she's got a little bit of room, but not an atrocious lot. You want to get your crimping plier right down onto your bead here with the crimp right in the middle of that divot. And then we're going to pull this on both directions. Pull it up so we're close to the bead, then pull it down so that we've not got a big loop. Though this is a little bit bigger than I would have liked, but it's all right. And then we'll do again the same, slide our flush cutters right up the wire till it bumps into the crimp tube. Come on, all the way up. Stop being a bugger. Okay. And then snap it off. So here is our first strand of our bracelet. Now, like I say, we're going to put chain for the other two strands. But first, I have to make our component. So to make the component, I need to get some wire out. Well, I've got some 18 gauge wire here. We're going to cut it there because it had a nasty spot, and this spot has a rough spot, so we'll cut it. Now we're going to even this out. And we're going to cut it in half. Now this is probably more than I need, but better to have more than not enough. So what we have here is, I'm going to cut this at 10 so we have 2 even 5s. Okay, lay down in there, so 5 is right here. And we'll see if they're even relatively. This one has a little notch, and we'll take it out, and I think they'll be pretty even then. So good enough, because what we're going to do then is we're going to get in the middle with our bell making pliers, approximately the middle. We're going to guess at it a little bit, and then we're going to bend this wire so it goes to both directions, like so, and make a loop here. Now we're going to go, so we're wider than our sugar skull, so we want to go about yay big. Let's get our tape measure out though and make sure we're getting about the right length. So our sugar skull is about 1/2 inch, maybe a little bit longer. So we want it to be at least 1/2 inch, so right here. So we'll put our plier here at about 1/2 inch. That's more than 1/2 inch. Quite a bit more than 1/2 inch. A little bit more is fine. I don't want a ton more. So then we're going to go wrap this one and just come right back up on itself like so. Now we're going to do the same on this other side. Put it in place, and then we'll measure it. We want about 1/2 inch, maybe a little more. That's about it. Then we're going to go around again till we come up here again. So we have a component that looks like this. I think this one side might be a little wider than the other side, but that's the way it goes. Now, because I want this to come back over here, I'm going to take my flat nose plier and my regular plier, and I'm going to grab this right here where they come together. Come on, baby. And then I'm going to bend this back on itself. Easier said than done. It doesn't want to. But now that I've got it started, I should be able to just push it down. And now, because this one is moved up a little bit, we're going to put our bell making plier back in it and move it down and squish this into place. So when we get to this point, we have a choice of 1 to 2 things. We need another loop going upward, so we can either do it from this side or from the other side when we get to this point. Now this is where, come on baby, you didn't do what I wanted you to. This baby here is where we're going to hook the chains onto, and I've got it a little bit wonky here. So let's see if I can get it to move back into place better. So one will come back this direction like so, and the other one will come from this direction. And this loop is bigger than I want it to be, so we're going to try and squish it back over here some, like it should be. And then we got to bring this down. Now we need to do the same with the other side. Now we can either cut this one off and then use the other for a simple loop, or we can cut the other side off when we get it over there. But I think we're just going to cut this one right here where it comes together. And then we're going to try and do the same with this one, but we're going to make a simple loop at the bottom of it when we get to that point. So I'm going to use these pliers, leave them in here when I try and make my bend back over to this side. And we're just going to go in here and bend it over like so. So we're over here. Though when it comes right down to brass tacks, we are not where we want it to be, because we want it to be more or less sitting on the other wire, more or less, right there. So now we need to take this and we're going to make a simple loop out of this second wire here. So we'll just wrap it up, and we need it to be a little smaller because we want it over the top of this. So we're going to cut part of the loop off so that when it comes over, it will be closer in to where we want it to be. So there we go. There's what we want. We have a component. Now for hanging all of our pieces on, but we do want to squish this somewhat because it is sticking up some. So we're going to, and this one needs to come over here a little bit, this loop. So we're going to bring her over somewhat. See, did it work? It's a little bit. It needs to come still some more. Okay. So now I'm going to get the block out, and we're going to hammer this piece. And I'm going to use my chasing hammer because I do want it to be a little flatter than this, and I want it to stay put. So we'll get our chasing hammer out and flatten this baby out. Now, as you can see, this side is still a wee bit longer than that side. What do I do with my pliers? There they are. So I'm going to take and squish this some, bring it down, and this side then needs to be squished and brought down some. It is our loop, and I think because this is not laying flat, we need to cut just a little bit more off right here. It needs to go right there where the connection comes together, and so that this can sit down flatter here. Come on, go down where you belong. So now we'll get our hammer and give it a few more whacks to get it into that spot better. And that one piece is pulling up a little bit. We don't want it to do that because it'll then come a snag, a place where it can snag on things. So we want to bend it down so that it sits right on that other wire nicely, like so. And the same with this one. We need it to come down and sit on its buddy right above it. So we'll bend it like so, and we got it. Okay. Now, as you can see, they're not quite, I don't have them quite even, but they're not bad. So what we're going to do, we're going to need a second one of these. This is going to hook here, and then our chain is going to hook here and here. So we need to make our second component. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to wire wrap our components, top and bottom, the two sides, so that it will hopefully stay in place better. I have already got this one done. You can see what I mean by I'm going to wire wrap the two sides together. And then we will start putting things together. So we'll get out some 24 gauge German style wire, a hunk of that, and we're just going to start on one end here, and we'll take this and we will swing it down into here, place here, and we'll just start wrapping around here. And when we get to the center here, where the center loop is, we will just go around the loop here, and then we'll go back up onto the other side here like so, and come around here, and then we're going to get up over this one, that the end here where it was cut here, and just wrap all the way to the end here. And this will keep our component in place, but not only that, it will keep these bars from trying to slide sideways. Now this one is already down a little lower than no, it's fine. So we're gonna just wrap this up here, and like I say, till we get to the end right here, and we are there. So we're gonna trim these ends off. And squish these little pieces up into place so that they don't become a problem themselves. Now once we have these in place, we will take and flatten them a little bit. We'll take our nylon jaw and squish a little bit more so that they are all in place where we want them to be. We'll do that on the other one that I've already done as well. Now as you can see, I didn't wrap this one all the way to the end. I ran out of wire, but it shouldn't be an issue because there's still enough wire there to hold the pieces from pulling apart, which is what I wanted done here, and that's why we put these pieces in here. So now we've got these. They'll go on either side like so. And we're going to jump ring the chain in and the beaded portion in to either side. I've got some jump rings out here for that, as well as a lobster claw. And I've got one piece of chain cut. Now I think that this is a good length. It looks like it's about the same length as our piece here. So I'm going to get a second piece and get it cut as well. So I'm just going to take my awl, and I'm going to put the chains on both sides, and then we're going to get gravity involved and just slide our fingers down till we get to the end here, and then we'll cut right where we end at here. Okay, so now we'll check to make sure they're the same length, and they are. So we can start putting these together. Now I'm also going to cut another little piece, say about 2 or 3 inches long, like so. And let's just do that right now. And this is going to be hanging on one of the loops. The lobster claw will be on the other loop like this, and then there'll be a little chain on this side for our lobster claw to grab. And I didn't check to make sure that our lobster claw would go in this chain. I was fairly positive it would though, and it does just fine, no problem. So this is for one end, this is for the other end. One chain on either side, like so. Now these are the ones I cut. Let's get them out of the way. Now we want to take our 2 pair pliers, and we're going to open up our jump rings and put these pieces all on our component that we made. So let's just start opening those up and get that done. So I'm going to just start with the chain and go up the line here. We'll go chain. Come on, baby, you should have plenty of room. So what are you fighting me for here? There we go. And we'll put on the chain, and then we'll put on the bead strand, and then the second chain. Trying to make sure this is good and closed. So there is the first piece of chain on this side. Then we'll open up the next one and get our bead strand on. So we'll go through our loop in our bead strand and then through the middle loop here. Now we've got these 2 pieces put on. Now we want to put the 3rd chain on. Now I think this is going to be at least 7.5. It may even be longer. If this is a long bracelet, this is a long bracelet. That's all there is to it. So there's one side all hooked together. So now we need to take our jump rings and hook the component on this side. So just make sure our chain, first of all, is nice and even. See how that one has got some kinks in it right now? We don't want that. First thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to put the bead strand on because it doesn't need to be straightened. It's in good shape. So, but we want to take our fingers and just roll them down our chain because I just felt a kink right there. So it's got a little kink, so we need to roll it around till it gets evened out. And there's another kink right there, so we want to get that out of there. And in all actuality, we may have one more link in our chain than we need. In fact, I'm fairly positive we do, because once I put the jump ring on, it's going to take care of that space. So let's see if this one is the same. If we need to cut off one link, we will do so. maybe not. It's looking all right. So let's hook it together and then we'll decide if we need to do any repair work. Oops. So she's all the way she's supposed to, so we'll grab her and put her on. Close her up. Whoop, 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 fell off. Not good. And now it's twisted. So I'm going to hold this while I get this up here to try and make sure that everything stays nice and even. Oops, no snapping. Now see, I think it does need one less link. See how it's dragging down there instead of coming right up beside it? Rory's going to have a little chat with us, it sounds like. So I have decided we need one less link, so I am going to cut this last link off this side and get it hooked on, and then we will get the other side fixed. Now see how this side now is tighter, and I think it's not just going to bag down as much. See, it does not. So we do need to take the one link out of this other side here. So we'll just cut that right here. Come on, go off, fall off. Now we just need to open that jump ring back up and hook it back on. So but we want to make sure that we're straight again. So right now we're looking pretty good. We need this. Where's Rory? So anyway, we're going to put this one back on that we took off because we needed that link out. And I've already got it straight down there on the mat, so we just want to hold on to this and get it underneath. And then close it up. There we go. There is our bracelet all put back together. Now I'm going to, right now it looks like the chains are a little bit shorter than the bead strand, but since the chains will come around easier than the bead strand will, it's not really going to affect it. Now, this is going to be a little longer than I anticipated because you see my loops are hitting each other. And so once I put the other on, it's going to be a little bit bigger. So I could have left one of these beads out, but since I didn't, we're not going to worry about it. Because, hey, it's too late. Well, technically it's not, but as far as I'm concerned it is, because I do not feel like restringing it. So we will put our jump ring on, our lobster claw on the one side. It doesn't matter which side, just choose a side and flip her on there. Close it up. And then we will put this little length of chain on the other side. Now, we didn't need the little length of chain because obviously it's going to be long enough unless you have a longer arm. And you know, there might be somebody who wants it that's got a longer arm. So we'll close this little piece of chain up. And we're gonna put a little dangle on the bottom of the chain, but first I'm gonna close it up at its tightest spot, and we're gonna see how long it actually ended up being. Because I think it's probably about at least 7.5, if not 7 3/4. Come on. Go on. Oh, it's much bigger than I thought. It's saying it's 8. I don't want 8. I may have to shorten it up, but we'll see. Come on, get your chain down here where it belongs. It's actually 8 1/4. Very, very much longer than I thought it was. And it's even twisted up some here. But in order to make it smaller, we would have to take out some of our beads out of our bead strand and then some links out of our chain. So I have to debate whether I wish to make it smaller or just have this bracelet be for a longer, a person with a bigger wrist. Like I say, if I wanted to shorten it, I would have to get in here and take out at least let's see. At least the green beads or at the end of my bead strand on both sides. So I'm not sure I want to do that. It would be a lot of work. So, well, the lot of work would just be to restring it, but then of course I'd have to cut a couple of more links out of our chain, but that would only have to cut out of one side rather than both. So we'll see what I decide to do in the end, but right now it's at 8 1/4, and I've got it twisted here because the chains are all over the place. So let's see what we've got going on here. Chain, chain, chain. Oh, this is this one's chain, so it goes this way. So like that. So the last thing we're going to do to finish this necklace or bracelet off is we're going to take these extra beads I have right here, and we're going to make a little dangle for at the bottom of our back of our extender chain here. Now, my original thinking was that this was going to be shorter than I wanted it to be, and so that's why I made the extender chain in the first place. So we will get our beads on here. And we need a washer spacer. So put a washer spacer on, and then our green bead. We'll wrap this up. Now I'm going to just attach it directly to the chain. So we'll just bring it around and go over like that and open her up. Slide our chain on. Grab the two wires where they come together here. Oop. Thunk. And wrap that wire up. Trim off this and tuck it in. And there's our bracelet, all finished. Ta-da! No twisting, baby doll. So there's our tail. So again, as I said, it's a little longer than I actually wanted it, and I might end up shortening it up. But right now, there it is, all finished. There we go. There's our sugar skull bracelet and chain, sugar skull and chain bracelet all finished. Like I say, it is a little longer than I anticipated it being. And like I said, I might end up shortening it just because I do like my bracelets to be an average 7. However, not everybody has an average 7 wrist. Some are smaller, some are larger. So I may just leave it to the larger size just because there are some people with a larger wrist and they might like to have that larger size. For instance, if a man wants this bracelet, most men have a slightly larger wrist than women. So there we go. So this bracelet I have made using our SoftFlex's TGBE kit, Dio de los Muertes. I have to think about it there for a minute. It's quite the word, you know. So or words, since I'm not Spanish, I don't pronounce them quite right. But yeah, the bracelet ended up being, as you can see, 8 1/4. So that's a little bit on the long side. If it was 7 1/2, I probably wouldn't have thought anything of it, but I do think it's a little big at 8 1/4. So I may end up shortening it. I'll decide. If I do, the only thing I'm probably going to do is take out these 2 end beads here, the 2 green ones, and the 2 washer spacers, and then just tighten it up that much. That will take it up, oh, let's see. If we pull it up and take it up to there, take this out, it would be still about 7 1/2, but I think I would be happier with 7 1/2 than 8 1/4. So I probably will shorten it, but you see how we made it. And I hope you enjoyed making it with me. This has been Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we'll see y'all later. Bye-bye. This is Rose again. I did decide to shorten it, and to do that, so I took out the second sugar skull that was down here on the side, cut 5 links out of each side of the chain, but I did add 1 green bicomb back in to give it some size. So there it is, all finished, and on my wrist it still has an extender chain, so for if somebody does have the bigger wrist and wants a larger size, there it is. So anyway, there we go, finished product, all done. With the second sugar skull taken out of the band here. So that is how I managed to shorten it. It works much better in my opinion. It can go to a larger wrist, but it can go to a 7-inch wrist. I think it ended up being 7 1/4 when I put it on its tightest one. Let's check that out, shall we? So we'll put it on its tightest one. Come on, baby, go on. Now, I didn't actually need to cut more string because I had plenty of string after I took the pieces out, beading cord, to re-string and still have enough to put it in. So as you can see, the main strand is at, come on baby, up 7 1/4, so that's perfect. And so I'm quite pleased with it. This is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and again we were using our SoftFlex's Great Bead Extravaganza kit, Dia de las Muertes, to make this fun little bracelet. So there we go, all done. We'll see you. Bye-bye.